Hello, let's get right into our yoga practice. We are going to start in Savasana, setting our intentions for our practice today. Focus on what you want to bring into your life and what you are needing to let go of in order to allow that shift and change. We're going to remain in Savasana or corpse pose for a minute while setting our intentions. Continue to remain in Savasana for another minute, just clearing your thoughts, clearing your mind of all of the stressors from today, from yesterday, from last week, this year. Just let it all go. Focus on your wellness here, right now. Focus on your breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Deep breaths. Then we will rotate the head and neck slowly to the right, looking over your right shoulder. Then slowly back to neutral. And then to the left side, looking over your left shoulder. And back to neutral. Now we're going to stretch out long, hands overhead, pointing your toes. Then hug in your right knee with both hands tightly. You have an option here to engage your foot, flexing your heel, rotating your ankle, pointing your toes. Continue hugging that knee, paying close attention to the micro movements and the compression in your right hip socket. Then we're going to reach for the canvas strap. getting it to go across the ball of your right foot, and then straightening out your leg. Pulling that leg just a little closer to your chest. Hold it there. You can bend the knee a little if you like, or keep it straightened, or a little bit of both. And then swing that right leg out to the right side with the strap, or without if you like. And we're going to remain in this half straddle for several breaths. Now set that strap aside. Lower your right leg back down to the mat. Switching your legs, hug your left knee tightly. Again, you can engage the foot and the ankle, flexing and pointing your toes, rotating that ankle. Continue hugging in your left knee tightly, paying close attention again to the micro movements and focusing on the compression in your left hip socket. Then reach for your strap again, placing the canvas across the ball of your left foot, straightening that leg, hold it there. Again, you can bend the knee slightly if you wish. Pull your leg just a little closer to your chest, and then hold. Again, you can straighten your knee, you can bend it slightly, or a little bit of both. Mix it up. Then we're going to get that left leg out to the left side with or without the strap for the half straddle. Then setting your strap aside, lower that left leg back down to the mat. Both legs are out straight, stretching out long arms overhead, and then hug both of your knees tightly. Continue holding your right knee while lowering the left leg down to the mat. And then we're going to place the right knee onto the left side of your body for the supine twist. Arms can be in a T. Keep your drishti out over the opposite hand, over your right fingertips. You can use your left hand at any point to apply a light pressure to your right knee, or you can keep your arms in a T. Yogi's choice. Just enjoy this lovely supine twist. And then slowly turn your head to look to the left, over your left shoulder for 2 full breaths. And then slowly turn the head and neck back to the right, looking over your right fingertips again. And then back to neutral. Lower that right leg back to the floor, hugging in both of your knees together then. Head and neck towards the knees, rocking and rolling. And then we're going to lower the right leg to the floor while continuing to hug your left knee. Hold it tight. And then we're going to bring the left knee across the body to place it on the floor on the right side for the supine twist to the right. Arms can be in a T. Keep your gaze out over your left fingertips. You can use your right hand to apply that light pressure to the left knee at any point. Relax into it. And then slowly turn your head and neck to the right. Hold for 2 full breaths. And then back to be looking out over your left fingertips again. And then neutral. Lower your left leg back down to the floor, coming out of the twist. Stretch long arms overhead. And then hug both knees again, stretching your neck. Rotate both ankles, engaging the feet, flexing the heels, pointing your toes. And then lower your feet back down to the mat. And we will get into reclined butterfly. You might want to bolster or pillows under your knees, blocks under your thighs. Arms are down by your sides, surrendering to your practice. Then glide your arms on the floor, reaching out wide to both sides, arching them overhead in the half moon to steeple grip. Then glide your arms back down to your sides like butterfly wings. Your hands or your palms are still facing up. Slowly, we're going to stretch those arms out wide again, gliding them across the floor, bringing the arms back overhead in that half moon, touching the fingertips to each other in prayer hands. With your arms overhead outstretched, fingers and thumbs touching lightly, stay in the reclined butterfly for another breath. If you have a bolster or any props, you can remove them at this point. And then we're going to do a reclined tree pose on each side. So first, straighten out your left leg and place the sole of your right foot against the inseam of your left thigh as high as you can. Continuing with your hands in prayer overhead. If you would rather, you can branch your arms out, goalpost, in a T, whatever's comfortable. I like to keep them in prayer. Yogi's choice. And then we're going to simply switch sides, straightening out the right leg, placing the sole of your left foot as high on the inseam of your right thigh. Arms are still in prayer hands overhead or branching out, goalpost, steeple grip, yogi's choice. Coming out of this, we will reach for the strap again, getting it across the balls of both feet for legs up the wall. Your knees can be straight or slightly bent. You can pedal your knees one at a time. You can rock, you can roll, you can wiggle, anything you wish. Continue to keep your left foot in the strap, keeping the canvas on the ball of your foot. Take your right foot and place it across your left thigh for reclined pigeon. You can bend that left knee slightly as an option, or you can keep it straight, or some of each, straightening and bending. And then we're going to switch out the feet, get your right foot back into the canvas strap, removing your left foot, placing it across your right thigh for the reclining pigeon on the other side. Again, option to bend the knee or straighten it, or both. And then you can come out of this and set the strap aside. We're going to lay flat for 3 honey bumblebee breaths. Fingers over your eyes, thumbs on your ear cartilage, pressing your thumbs down on that tragus, closing off the airway into your ears. Breathing in through your nose and out through the nose. We will hum low pitch 3 times. after that, get ready to turn yourself over. Slowly you can turn to your left or to your right, flipping yourself over to lay prone onto your front side. You can rest your head on your hands, laying on top of each other for several breaths. We will prepare for another twist. Coming up on your elbows and forearms into Sphinx. Hike up your right knee out to the side with your right arm out in front of you. With your left arm, you can thread the needle. Make any adjustments for the pose that you need as you get into the supine twist once again. You can simply place your right hand onto your right hip, or you can straighten out that right arm and try to lay it flat on the ground with both shoulders flat, or just keep your right hand on the right hip. At any point, you can use your left hand to apply a slight pressure to your right knee, keeping the gaze out over your right shoulder, looking out towards your right fingertips. And again, you might want to use a bolster or a pillow under your knee. Feel the difference from the last supine twist, having gotten into the pose from an entirely different series of prompts and directives. Also, notice the similarities with those differences. When you're ready to come out of the twist, you can rest your forehead on your hands again, laying your hands on top of one another and relaxing for several breaths. And then bend both knees and windshield wiper your feet and calves. Slow that down. Lower your feet back down to the mat before then coming back up onto your forearms and elbows and hands into the Sphinx pose. Again, this time hike your left knee up to the left side, and with your left arm out in front of you, thread your right arm through the needle. And then as you shift into the supine twist, you can place your left hand on your left hip. Same as the other side, you can adjust yourself so that both shoulders and arms are flat on the ground in a T, or simply keep your left hand on your left hip. Option again to apply light pressure with the right hand if you wish onto your left knee, keeping your drishti over your left shoulder and over your left fingertips. Enjoy the supine twist again, while again noticing similarities and differences from the first supine twist, and even just from the other side. And when you are done coming out of this twist, rest your head on your hands again, and in an exaggerated motion, really windshield wiper those feet and knees, loosening your hips out. Slow it down, and then lower your feet onto the mat again. And we're going to send our hips back towards our feet, getting into a wide knee child pose. You can use a block or a bolster or a pillow to rest your forehead on. We're going to remain in this position for a minute. Really relax your torso. Ragdoll the upper portion of your body, allowing gravity to do the work for you. Letting go, really leaning into it. Then we're going to come up into tabletop as we get back into Sphinx on your elbows and forearms again. This time, spreading your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can. Holding that Sphinx pose tall before then turning your right forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat. Reach back with your left hand to hold your left foot. And we're going to remain in half bow for several breaths. You have an option here to attempt the full bow with both sides. You can use the strap if you want to experiment with that. The way I do it is I let go of my left foot with my left hand, reach back with my right hand to get my right foot, and then get my left hand, my left foot back in my left hand. If I can on a good day. And then remain in bow. You can make a circle shape. You can lower your torso down. You can lower your knees down. You can use your breath and diaphragm to rock in that circle shape, or intentionally remaining still, or some of each. This is a very challenging pose, the full bow. And then when you're ready to let go of your feet, you can rest your head on your hands again, one hand atop the other, and windshield wipering those feet, again loosening out the hips too. And then slowing it down, lower your feet back down to the floor. And the same thing to the other side. Coming back into Sphinx, stretch your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can. Sitting tall in your Sphinx before then turning your left forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat. Reaching back with your right hand to hold your right foot. Engage in this half bow for several breaths. And then just like on the other side, you can attempt the full bow if it's in your practice. You can use your strap if you have someone nearby that can spot you, have someone help. Whatever you need to do to support the challenge of the full bow. And again, you can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock back and forth or try to remain still, or a bit of both. I like to try to pull my knees together while I'm doing the full bow. Really feel the burn. Or sometimes be more relaxed, depending on the day. And then, when letting go of your feet, lower them both to the mat again. And again, you're going to send your hips back to sit on your feet in child's pose. While sitting on your feet, you can rest your head on a block. We're going to be here for a little while. Again, you're going to ragdoll that torso. Just relax into it. Allow gravity to do the work for you. And then we're going to slide our hands or walk our fingers over to the right edge of the mat, reaching for the upper right corner of the mat, and feel that stretch across your lower left ribs. And then slide or walk your hands and fingers back to neutral. Sliding or walking the fingers to the left edge of the mat, reaching towards the upper left corner. Focusing on the extension in the lower right ribs. And then glide or walk the hands and fingers back to neutral. Coming up slowly and carefully into lightning bolt pose. We're going to pause here. This is a very challenging pose for many. You might want props, whatever modifications you might need, or if you want to skip this, feel free. I like to just remain in a gentle lightning bolt pose, placing my hands on my thighs, remaining still, noting the challenge of the seemingly simple pose. Then come up onto your knees with a widened stance. You can reach back towards your feet. You may want blocks or other props as you move into this camel pose. Leaning back if you can, if it's in your practice. Arching your torso. Maybe holding blocks in each of your hands and touching them to the floor. Wherever you are at in your flexibility is fine. Do what is comfortable and what works for you. This is a good heart opener. Then as you come back out of this shape, coming up, you can sit onto the floor, swinging your legs around out in front of you for staff pose. You can stack some pillows and props on top of your legs so that you can then ragdoll your upper body over your legs, resting your torso on the props. Alternatively, you can use the strap on the balls of both feet for the same type of effect here. We're going to hold this pose for an extended period. Really lean into it. Envision tilting your hips slightly towards your feet, towards your toes. Again, allow gravity to do the work for you. Focus on easing your weight forward, trusting the gravitational pull to completely support you. Holding these poses for extended periods really allows the oxygen to circulate your bloodstream into your muscles, clearing out the lactic acid fermentation. It's really good for you. When we're done, we will remove the props, keeping your left leg stretched out long. Bring the right foot up high to the inseam of your left thigh. Reaching a side stretch for your left toes. Holding for several slow breaths. You can reach your right hand over those toes as well. And then coming up, can get into a wide straddle stretch. Lean forward for a couple of deep breaths. And then switch it out to the other side, placing your left foot to your inner right thigh with your right leg out straight. Reaching for the right toes in a side bend. With your right hand, you might be holding your toes. Your left hand might be leaning over the toes. And then coming up, we're going to stretch both legs out into the wide leg straddle again. Leaning forward, reaching out in front of you. You might want to rest your forehead on a couple of blocks stacked. We're going to hold for a few breaths. And then we're going to come into the seated butterfly, holding the soles of your feet together with both hands, pushing knees toward the floor, bending your neck and your head towards your feet. Slowly rise your head up to neutral. And then twist the head and neck to the right, looking over the right shoulder. Still holding your feet together, and then back to neutral, turning the head and the neck to be looking over your left shoulder. And then back to neutral. Stretch the neck down, roll it out slowly in small movements at first. You might want to turn your head back and forth like you're indicating a no. Moving your neck around. You may want to nod your head up and down as if acknowledging a yes. If you're comfortable and it's in your practice, you can do a full circle rotation with your head and neck one direction, and then a full circle rotation, head and neck in the other direction. And then bring your head to neutral before shifting into easy pose. And then you can drop your right ear towards your right shoulder. You have the option here to use a light pressure with your right fingertips on the top of your head. If you want to move your head slightly back and forth, you can get a nice gentle massage on your neck muscles. And then letting go, bringing your head and neck back to neutral. And then drop your left ear to your left shoulder. Again, you can use that slight pressure with your left fingertips. If you wish, you can move your head and neck slightly back and forth, massaging it out slowly. And then back to neutral. Again, turn your head slowly from side to side, first to the right, and hold. Back to neutral, to the left, and then back to neutral. And now we're going to bring ourselves into that wide straddle stretch again, leaning forward. You may want to use the blocks in front of you to rest your forehead on, and we are going to remain in this posture for an extended period, stretching forward in the wide leg straddle. You can pick up the blocks in each of your hands, reaching over the left foot, placing each of the blocks on either side of your foot, resting your hands on them, reaching for your toes. We'll hold. Letting go, letting gravity work its magic. Then you can pick up the blocks and place them on either side of the right foot, reaching for your right toes, resting your hands on the blocks if you wish. And then come back to neutral. And set the blocks aside. Our next pose will be bending our right knee over our left leg, extended out straight, twisting to the right, gazing to the back of the room. Right hand or fist is on the floor behind you. Your arm is supporting the torso. Using your left elbow to leverage on the right knee. Keep your gaze out over your right shoulder. And then slowly turn your gaze to be looking over your left shoulder. Slowly returning your gaze to look out over your right shoulder again, all while leveraging that left elbow on the right knee. And then coming out of this twist, we're simply going to switch sides, bending the left knee over the right leg extended out straight, left hand or fist on the floor behind you, gazing over the left shoulder towards the back of the room, leveraging your right arm against the left knee. Really feel that twist. And then slowly turn your gaze, your head, and your gaze and your neck to be looking over the right shoulder. And then slowly returning your drishti to be looking back out over your left shoulder again. Continuing to leverage that right elbow on the left knee. And then back to neutral. Next, we're going to hold the soles of our feet together again, getting into the butterfly. Pressing those knees towards the floor. Sitting tall. And then bending the head and the neck towards your feet. Keep your posture as if a string were being pulled from above, from the top of your head. And then gently turn the head to the right, looking over the right shoulder. Back to neutral. To the left, looking over the left shoulder. And back to neutral. And now we're going to get into cow face and then Lord of the Fish. We're going to bend the right knee over the left knee that is also bent, stacking them on top of one another for cow face. Holding each of your feet in each of your hands. You can use your thumbs to press into the arches of your feet, giving yourself a nice little foot massage if you like, while sitting up tall. And then we're going to twist to the right. The right arm goes on the right hand goes on the floor behind you. Your right arm is back. Your left elbow leverages against the right knee. looking towards the back of the room. Leveraging that arm on that knee. Turn your head and neck slowly to be looking out over your left shoulder. Then slowly turning your head and neck back to be looking over your right shoulder again. And now straighten both legs out for staff pose, reaching your arms out wide to the sides and then arching them overhead in a half moon up to the sky, interlacing your fingers and then turning both of the hands outward and reaching up tall. And then bend forward, reaching for your toes. And then we'll come up and prepare to switch legs for cow face on the other side. The left knee over the right bent knee, holding both feet, one in each of your hands, massaging the thumbs into the arches of each foot for a moment. That nice little foot massage. Sitting up tall. And then we can twist to the left. Right arm is leveraging against the left knee, looking over the left shoulder to the back of the room. And then slowly, after a minute, turn the gaze to the other side, looking out over your right shoulder. And then slowly returning the gaze to look over the left shoulder again. And then your head back to neutral. Coming out of this twist, we will return to staff pose. Reaching arms out wide again. Legs are out in front. Make a half moon arch, touching your hands lightly overhead. And then reaching for your toes. As you come up to neutral, you can transition into easy pose, reaching your arms out wide to the sides in that half moon arch. Touch your hands together lightly for prayer hands before getting into cactus arms, preparing for eagle arms, your right elbow over your left elbow. Hands together, pushing elbows slightly up, bending head and neck down. You have the option to then slowly look up as high as possible, leaning your head slightly back while pushing your eagle arms towards the sky. And as your arms unpretzel, reach them out wide and down to touch the ground, and then arching them back up into another half moon, touching hands together for prayer hands overhead, and then back to cactus, and again eagle arms with the left elbow over the right elbow this time, pushing those elbows slightly up and bending the head and neck down. Again, you have the option to slowly look up as high as possible, leaning your head slightly back, pushing your elbows and arms up as we unpretzel again, stretching arms out wide to the sides, reaching out, and then bringing them back to overhead and another half moon arch to steeple grip sitting tall. And then we're going to do a simple twist to each side. First, you're going to lower your right arm down behind you so your right hand is on the floor, your left hand is on your right knee. Crossing your right arm over the left arm, reaching for the left knee with the right hand, then bringing your left hand on the floor behind you for a nice light twist. Before then reaching your left hand over your right arm to cross your arms again with that left hand on your right knee. And then you can make your way to lay down on your back. If you'd like to do a boat pose for a moment, you can do that here with or without the strap. It can be a good abdominal exercise, or you can just lay down flat. Stretching out long, pointing your toes, hands overhead. And then bending your knees, plant both of your feet onto the floor. You might want to hold a block or a pillow in between your knees, possibly another on each side of you to allow your knees to just fall to the right. Arms are in a T, focusing the gaze out over the left fingertips. Slowly rotate your head to look out the other direction to your right. And then slowly back again, looking over your left shoulder before bringing head and neck back to neutral, knees to neutral, and then allow your knees to fall to the left. Still with your arms in a T, gazing out over your right fingertips. After a minute, you can slowly turn your head to look out over your left shoulder, settling your gaze over the left fingertips, slowly turning back to look out over your right shoulder, and then back to neutral. Knees come back to neutral. Remove any props and hug in both knees tightly, bending the head and the neck towards the knees. You can engage your feet, flex your heels, point your toes, rotating your ankles. And then When we're done, we're going to plant both feet firmly on the mat again, putting your right knee over your left knee, allowing your legs to fall to your right. Arms are in a T, gazing out over your left fingertips. This is my very favorite of all of the twists. I really like the way it feels on that left hip and the back, the small of the back. It's just such a great stretch. Then as you bring your knees up to neutral, you can undo them, hugging both knees to the chest, again rocking and rolling. And then firmly planting both feet back onto the mat for the other side. The left knee bends over the right knee, allowing the legs to fall to your left. Arms still in a T with your gaze over your right fingertips. Enjoy this final twist. Then release your knees as you come back to neutral. And hug in both knees again, one more time, rocking and rolling. And then if you would like to, you have the option here for the happy baby. You can grab your feet with each of your hands. You can grab your big toe with your fingers. You can rock the baby, maybe alternating, straightening and slightly bending each knee. You can keep it moving with your head off the floor, or you can lay your head back down on the floor. Just exploring whatever motions your body needs or whatever stillness your body needs here. As we come out of Happy Baby, we're going to lay flat and then reach for a block for supported bridge, planting both feet firmly onto the mat. Lift the hips, slide the block under the small of your back on its lowest level, and we will remain here in supported bridge for several breaths. Then while you're still on the block, you can reach for your strap, or you can do this without your strap. But if you want to get the canvas across the balls of both feet, we're going to get into legs up the wall again. When you're done, you can set the strap to the side and remove the block. If it's in your practice, there's an option here for the shoulder stand and the plow. You can take a minute or two to do each of these, or yogi's choice, any stretching that you would like to do to feel complete before getting into Savasana, or you're free to get into Savasana early and then we will meet you there. Should you be in a shoulder stand, you may want to point your toes tall. You might want to keep your feet and legs extended and still, maybe arching your heels, pointing your toes, twisting your ankles. You can scissor your legs long or any movements that you're inclined to do. Maybe keeping one leg straight and bending one knee. Switching it out to keep the other leg straight, bending the other knee. And then we're going to transition into plow. I like to first just lower my feet down to the floor overhead, keeping my hands and arms stretched out, palms on the floor. And then I like to reach up over my head and hold my toes for a moment. Sometimes bending the knees, other times keeping them straight. And then when coming out of the plow, it's really hard to go as slow and controlled as possible with your chin tucked, one vertebrae at a time. Try to slow yourself down as you roll onto the mat to relax into the Savasana for 3 full minutes. Remember your intentions that you set at the beginning of this practice. Thank yourself for taking the time out of your day to focus on yourself and your well-being. Begin to bring your awareness back into the room, back into our bodies. You might want to wiggle your toes. You can roll to one side or the other and rest there before you then slowly push yourself up. Or if it's comfortable for you, you can just rock slightly with your chin tucked and come up onto both elbows behind you, straightening your arms out. And either way, if you're on your side, gently push yourself up. We're going to transition into easy pose, placing your left hand on the right knee, the right hand on the floor behind you, lightly twisting to the right, crossing your right arm over your left arm, right hand onto the left knee, crossing your arms, and then reach your left hand behind you to the left for another light twist. And then cross the left arm over the right arm, lightly hugging yourself in this basket shape. And then hugging yourself as tightly as you can, making yourself into as small of a seed or a ball or a beetle as you are able to, before releasing and stretching your arms up and out wide to the sides into a star shape, and then placing each hand on each one of your knees, touching your pointer fingers to the thumbs, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. We will chant Om 3 times in a low pitch. Then stretching the arms out wide again for a half moon arch. Bring the arms up overhead to prayer hands. And then to acknowledge your insight and wisdom, touch your thumbs or your knuckles to your third eye on your way to hands over heart. Reaching arms out wide once more for one last half moon arch. Prayer hands overhead, slowly lowering the prayer hands to be over your heart, and then bowing to close and seal the practice. And so it is. I thank you for practicing with me today. Be well and enjoy a very blessed rest of your day.